Compassion requires us to listen to the story of another with a willingness to allow ourselves to be affected. This can be difficult or challenging at times because often we try to avoid the pain, which usually means being stuck in it. When showing compassion for others, we need to assess why the person is distressed, which of their claims are justified, and what changes can be achieved. Compassion is not just a feeling, it can also be perceived rationally. Importantly, it comes from being able to see beyond or through a person's behavior. We all process painful events or traumatic experiences differently, meaning that one person could be displaying apathetic or defensive behaviors, while the other could be withdrawn or somber, even though they experience the same event. Acknowledging these individual differences in how people interpret and cope with their experiences allows us to accept them without judgment, making it possible for us to be compassionate towards them. So active listening is a technique that I'm sure most people have heard of already. A lot of it is actually common sense, but unless you are a little bit practiced in it, it does not come naturally, even though it seems perfectly reasonable. There are several elements to it. Pay full attention to what the person is saying. The person might not be able to repeat themselves later, and this is really important because you want to be able to remember what you have heard as best as possible. So it is important to be paying attention, and the person might open up to you just this once, but then might find it really hard to open up again at a later time. Ask open questions. An example of an open question is, "How are you doing?" This question does not have a yes or no answer. "Are you feeling low?" is a closed question that has a yes or no answer. Same with, "Are you sleeping poorly?" A way to ask an open question about if they have been sleeping well is by asking, "How do you normally sleep?" You will get more information from this, as they are able to answer in more detail by allowing them to interpret their own mental or physical state. Paraphrasing and summarising what they had told you at times is very important. They might have told you a long story about something, and you need to summarize it for them and repeat it back to them. You are doing this to make sure they know that you are listening to them, but also to make sure you have understood them correctly. For example, "So you have told me that you have been feeling down for the past 3 months, that this has started because you had a death in the family. Is this right?" Something like that. They might have given you a long explanation to why they have been feeling down, so you need to summarize and paraphrase what they had told you, and it shows that you have been listening to them. You need to also pay attention and respond to how the mood changes as the discussion progresses, and you can verbalize what you notice. For example, they might be anxious about something, or they might become a little bit weary, or they might not be looking at you directly in the eye. You might then say, "Oh, it seems to be quite hard for you to talk about this particular topic because you have gone a little bit quiet, or you seem a little bit restless. Is this a difficult subject for you to talk about?" It is very important not to judge a person when they are talking to you. Whatever they tell you, you are not there to judge, you are there to support, help, or just to listen. So that is what you will be focusing on regardless of what it is. Lastly, if you have started the discussion to try and support or help someone, you should not change the mode of the discussion. For example, into a manager or employee discussion about performance. The goal of the discussion is to try and find out how they are doing and try to figure out how best to support them. So if something comes out that might be relevant to, let's say, job performance, that is not the time to be focusing on it. And this then brings us on to Module 5, Compassion at Work.